Calatria.
Bonjour et bienvenue. Bienvenue à cette 4e édition de l'événement AWS pour les médias, l'entertainment, les jeux vidéo et le sport. Content de voir qu'on est toujours un peu plus nombreux d'année en année. Donc aujourd'hui, on va parler du cloud. Le cloud, ça permet de faire tout ça et beaucoup d'autres choses. Alors vous, dans la salle, vous comprenez à peu près. Ma famille, j'essaye toujours de leur expliquer, ça viendra. Mais avant de commencer, ou pour commencer plutôt, on va avoir une première demi-heure en anglais parce qu'on a la chance d'avoir la General Manager d'AWS au niveau mondial pour le média, l'entertainment, games et sport, en la personne de Samira Bakhtiar. Donc je vais vous demander d'accueillir Samira, s'il vous plaît, sur scène. Merci. Samira qui va nous parler du coup un peu des tendances du marché.
Merci Mathieu. Bonjour à tous. My French is very bad, so I will transition to English. Thank you for having me. My name is Samira Bakhtiar. I'm the general manager of our media, entertainment, games, and sports industry. I'm based in New York City, and it's my delight to be with you here in France today. In a moment, you'll be joined on this stage, I will be joined on the stage with customers from Banijay, Warner Brothers Discovery, from Von Minute, and from Moments Lab. But before I do that, I wanted to take a moment to ground all of us on what's happening across the industry based off of the perspective I have working with customers around the world. So let's get started with the state of the industry. So across the entertainment industry, we've always been innovators. In fact, from the dawn of cinema to today's AI-driven era, we've always been stewards of new technology. However, today, we're witnessing 4 major disruptors across the industry. The first is changing preferences in the way that younger consumers want to engage with content. This is creating pressure for traditional broadcasters and linear services to be able to cultivate streaming services faster, as we're seeing a convergence across these forms of content distribution. As a result, we're witnessing live events, sports, and political coverage now moving towards digital platforms, and the pace of that is only accelerating internationally. The second large disruptor that we're seeing around the world is technology disruption, being fueled by the availability and the convergence of cloud computing, generative AI, and purpose-built services from AWS in the areas of media and gaming. The third major disruptor that we're seeing is a desire from audiences for more interactive and immersive content. We're seeing this with companies like Roblox, a game developer, now creating live concerts in their games. We're witnessing IMAX, a company that builds theaters like the one you're sitting in right now, providing live NBA sports events in real time. And we're also witnessing streaming providers like Prime Video and Warner Brothers Discovery leveraging the technology to create very personalized feeds for their consumers. Now, why do these things matter? As the technology converges and audiences are demanding more interactive and personalized content, we're seeing startups come to market faster with new product propositions and established media brands realizing that they now need to extend their intellectual property into new areas, which is the fourth disruptor you see on this slide. We're witnessing customers who own intellectual property want to extend it into new mediums. We're seeing content owners now produce games, throw concerts, cultivate their own streaming services, and we only feel like this is going to accelerate with the desire for these companies to use their first-party data to create interconnected and immersive experiences for consumers. Now, while these disruptors can sound very scary, we at AWS believe it's a moment that many of our customers can meet to distinguish themselves. And the industry is growing. Last year, the entertainment industry generated $1 trillion globally. 35% of that came from online games, and 25% of that came from, 35% of that came from online video, and 25% of that came from games. Now, why does this matter, right? We're witnessing growth across multiple different sub-industries across entertainment. And this is being propelled by 5.8 billion people on the planet having mobile phones where they can consume content anywhere they go and at any time. As I mentioned before, we're also seeing very specific generational preferences in the way that content is being consumed. Gen Z, or Generation Z, they prefer social content over that of other forms. They're spending 54% more time on social media and 26% less time on traditional viewing experiences like a connected TV or a streaming service. And if you look at their preferences, first is social, second is gaming, third is audio and music, and fourth is traditional content consumption. And we believe that this trend is only going to proliferate with Generation Alpha. Now, I talked about games, and I think it's important for us to discuss it. Today's symposium is focused on media and entertainment, but 3.5 billion people are playing games every single week. That's almost 1 in every 2 people on planet Earth. And these are games that you can play on your mobile devices. They can be AAA games like the ones that you would play with Sony PlayStation as an example, or Fortnite. But the point is that younger demographics are engaging with different types of entertainment in new forums. And our customers are realizing that this is creating a paradox. Our attention spans are getting much smaller, yet our desire for interactive, immersive, and highly engaging content is only increasing. As a result, many of our customers realize it's no longer sufficient to be good at one type of content medium. They are investing in taking their intellectual property and creating docuseries or theatrical content. They are producing live events. They're investing in sports leagues. They want to create these types of interconnected experiences, and they realize that the future of entertainment is multidimensional, it's personalized, and it's more engaging than ever. Now, you may be sitting here thinking, okay, Samira, that's great. We understand that the industry is going through rapid disruption. We understand these trends, but what are you at AWS doing about it? At AWS, we have over 240 purpose-built services that can help you meet every conceivable outcome, from computing and storage to database services to artificial intelligence and machine learning. But over the course of time, we've also invested very heavily in purpose-built services for the media, entertainment, games, and advertising industries. This started in 2008 when we launched CloudFront, our purpose-built CDN. 1 year later, based off of feedback from customers, we started to support live video. In 2015, we acquired Elemental, and 2 years after that acquisition, we launched AWS Elemental Media Services, providing broadcast quality services in the cloud. That same year, we launched AWS GameLift, which allowed for game developers to host games to millions of concurrent users at the same time. From 2020 to 2024, we were very, very busy. We launched AWS Cloud Digital Interface, which allows you to traverse low latency, uncompressed video on the cloud, something that we never thought we could do before. We did. We launched AWS Elemental Media Tailor, which provides advanced advertising services and personalization in streaming services. And we launched AWS Entity Resolution, as we realized that many of our customers wanted to collaborate against their first-party data and resolve entity so that they could be more precise with the advertising propositions that they were going to pursue. And arguably, over the last 12 months, we've been the most busy we've ever been. We launched AWS Deadline Cloud, which allows you to render in the cloud, slashing time for render from weeks to minutes. We also advanced our game services to allow for support of containers. And just at the Game Developer Conference earlier this year, we launched GameLift Streams, which allows us to be able to extend that streaming service for games across the world. And most recently, we continue to invest in machine learning across our clean room services, which allow for first-party data sharing from a publisher and a brand in a highly compliant way. Now, that's 17 years of services. We continue to work back from our customers. That may sound impressive, but I would argue what's more impressive is the outcomes that we've been able to drive for the industry and our customers. These services help propel the very first Thursday night football game ever aired on Prime Video. We were able to leverage these same services for blockbuster hits like the Avatar: Way of Water and Lord of the Ring, as we work with them to be able to help render thousands and thousands of visual effects. We work with companies like Peacock and Warner Brothers Discovery and Fox in order to be able to launch their streaming services at scale. And internationally, and here in Europe specifically, we were able to work with companies like Banerjee to really focus on a true digital transformation. At every step, we're taking your feedback, customers and partners alike, to be able to push the boundaries of what's possible across the industry. And I'm very proud to tell you that today, over 1 billion people receive their streaming content through these services, and over 750 million people are playing games every single week based off of these services. So the ability for us to create a highly robust, secure, and scalable environment to meet the needs of anything in the entertainment industry is at the forefront. And I want to show you, was anyone in the room here at NAB? NAB? Okay, some of you. So I get asked often, all right, you've built out these services, what do you foresee customers to do with them? And I believe that the future of entertainment is multidimensional, it's engaging, it's hyper-personalized. And I want to show you how we leverage all of our services in action to be able to deliver an experience like that at the show. Take a look. So what you just witnessed there is an activation we produced with Formula One. You saw me sitting inside of an esports experience. I was driving. I was talking actually to a race strategist who was giving me recommendations on how to be able to turn the car and meet, challenge myself in the race. And then at the same time, there was a video feed that was pulling live content from the cars. It was backhauling it to a live cloud production control room that we built on the show floor. We had a media operations center built there as well, leveraging these services to create a very, very compelling fan engagement experience. We leveraged all of the services that I talked about previously, and we brought them together to deliver this experience. And what our customers ultimately saw was the ability to be able to create live content on the show floor, the ability to engage with fans in a meaningful way, and the ability to think through how they could monetize that content across different mediums. And the underpinning for all of this was generative AI. Now, I want to talk to you about some very specific ways in which generative AI services from AWS and from Amazon are being leveraged across the entertainment industry. But first, I want to give you a quick primer on what we provide. You can think of AWS's generative AI services being composed in a stack. At the bottom of the stack is our custom chipsets, which facilitate highly price performant inference and training for companies who want to build out their own foundational models. In the middle of the stack is Amazon Bedrock. Amazon Bedrock is a fully managed service that allows access in a secure and enterprise-grade way to third-party foundational models as well as first-party foundational models. Third-party foundational models include Anthropic, Mistral AI, AI21, Llama from Meta, just to name a few. We're very excited about the choice that we provide our customers across those foundational model sets. Amazon also has their own first-party foundational models, which I'll talk about in one moment, called Amazon Nova. Now, at the top of the stack, we have Amazon Q. Amazon Q, you can think of this as a generative AI assistant, one for business and one for developers. Now, if we double-click on the middle of the stack and we focus on the first-party foundational models that Amazon has built, we introduce the Nova family. On the top of the slide, you can see our understanding models. These range in their complexity and ability to reason, as well as their price and performance, and they support text in, text out, as well as multimodal inputs in and text out. We also have 3 different foundational models that are really focused on creativity. One that produces images, another that produces film, and another that's a speech-to-speech model. And rather than talking to you about it, I wanted to show you what we could produce. So let's focus on Amazon Nova Canvas. The images that you can see there are supposed to be me. I don't know, does it look like me a little bit? But last night I generated this prompt and I wrote, create a wide ankle aerial shot of a woman with long black hair wearing an olive dress standing in front of an audience at a business conference. The audience is facing her and they are clapping. Behind her on the screen, you can see Amazon. People in the audience are excited and joyful as they realize that Amazon continues to invest in choice. So I share that with you because it took me 2 minutes to produce that prompt. It was supposed to demonstrate how you could really, create a very fun and engaging image with very little effort. And so here you witness Amazon Nova Canvas in action. So let's come back now. I explained to you the state of the industry. I explained to you our services. And I've now explained to you Amazon and AWS's perspective on generative AI. Now let's get very focused on how we're leveraging this across the entertainment industry. Behind me, you can see the top 5 use cases that I'm seeing worldwide for use of generative AI in entertainment. They include brand-consistent art asset generation, metadata extraction, as well as media operations agent. I do want to focus on the bottom 2, though, which include video semantic understanding, as well as advanced advertising solutions. Let's start with video understanding. So video understanding enables different use cases, such as contextual advertising, automated ad break detection, the ability for you to do semantic search so you actually know what type of content you have. It's not glamorous, but it's very practical, and it's a very strategic way in which many of our customers are leveraging generative AI to understand what type of content they currently have. I have many customers who have decades and decades of content, and they don't know what they have within that content. So to be able to take it and breathe new life into it through video semantic understanding is very attractive for them. And we're helping our customers be able to do this in 4 different ways. The first is a purpose-built solution guidance. You can think of this like a recipe that allows for our customers to be able to build this on their own. It's called Media to Cloud, and it's been the we're on version 5 of Media to Cloud, and it allows for that automated metadata extraction, the automated ad break detection, as well as the ability to do video semantic search. We built on this with another solution guidance called Media Lake. This combines Media to Cloud with the ability to be able to combine event data and supply chain insights to be able to interconnect your workloads across a comprehensive media supply chain environment. Additionally, you can use foundational models like Nova, as well as partner foundational models. I believe in a few minutes we'll have Moment Lab up here as well, who will talk about the services that they're providing in this area as well. The point in all of this is you now have the ability to build these services, and you have choice in how you get there. And I wanted to talk about one customer that did this very well. Formula One has worked with AWS to ingest over 4 petabytes of video footage spanning 75 years. This translates into 100,000 hours of archival content that they can now search against by leveraging our Media to Cloud service. And I think, who in the room is from Banerjee? Okay, you're going to be coming, I think you've done like 200,000 hours, right? So yeah, so Formula One maybe not as impressive as Banerjee, but the point remains that it's very, very exciting to see the outcomes that can be derived as a result of this. Now, I wanted to talk about one other benefit for our generative AI services. I mentioned Amazon Bedrock, our fully managed service for generative AI, being able to provide you with access to third-party and first-party foundational models in a highly secure and scalable enterprise-grade manner. Another benefit of Amazon Bedrock is Bedrock agents and their support of multi-agent workflows. What is an agent? Is anyone in the room curious about what an agent is? Hopefully, maybe you all know if you don't. So an agent is much more than a bot. It's highly advanced. It can reason, it can act, it can observe against its environment, and it can carry out a task defined as a goal. So the way it does this is the agent will leverage a foundational model to collect data on its environment and make sure that it performs a task that is specified. And why does this matter? You're able to do this across multiple different systems and applications. As an example, an agent can move across your media supply chain environment and then go to your Salesforce.com environment to understand your customer 360 data to be able to then create a defined task. Let me show you this in action. So when I push play, you are looking at Amazon Q. This is the interface of Amazon Q for Business. And you're going to hear a demonstration here on how we're applying this agentic use case in a media operations environment, leveraging Formula One footage. The thing I want you to pay attention to is right here on the top, witnessing how we've enacted a supervisor agent to engage with a series of different role-based agents across the workflow.
Generative AI has transformed how we analyze sports videos, accelerating what was once a time-consuming manual process. But while these models are great at initial analysis, the final steps, such as data formatting, compliance requirements, still remain very challenging. And this is where a multi-agent system leveraging multiple autonomous AI agents working together can help you bridge the final gap. Today, I will demonstrate such a system built using Amazon Bedrock to create an accurate and compliant synopsis from sports clips like this one. So sports broadcasters can now automate the entire process end-to-end to maximize their content reach. First, we're going to use Bedrock data automation to quickly extract raw insights from this video, starting from technical specification to video level summary, as well as chapter and shot level details. Then we're going to leverage Bedrock multi-agent collaboration to turn this raw insight into the final compliant output for our company website. So let me zoom in here really quick and show you how our system reasoned through the problem. Starting with the supervised agent, identify that this is a sports video, and generating a plan delegating specific tasks to the downstream sub-agents, such as the sporting agent, which specializes in team identification and player lookup. Once we have accumulated all the relevant information, we will trigger the synopsis agent to generate the metadata, and then sending the metadata to the QC agent for compliance review. Notice something really interesting here is that our agent did not get everything 100% correct on the first try. But the system is smart enough to reason through problem and self-correct when needed, and sending the feedback back into the system to try it again until the final output that is in the correct JSON format, as well as meeting all the compliance requirements we needed.
So what you just witnessed, does anyone in the room work in a media operations center? Maybe? Okay, a few of you. So imagine that a human being had to watch and analyze that video footage. They had to type in every tag they saw, the Formula One car, the race car driver, any brands or logos that they saw on the shot. That would take quite a bit of time in order to be able to do all of that tagging manually. And then another human being would have to go and do a video summarization. They would have to watch the entirety of the video, and they would have to write a clip associated to the content that they just watched. And then another human being would then watch the content for quality control before then yet again another human being would have to then issue that content for distribution, maybe to a social channel, maybe to a distribution partner. So what we just demonstrated there is in minutes, using our generative AI services and an agentic workflow from AWS, was to automate that entire workflow. And that would allow for the human beings to now focus on high-yield activities and spend less time on some of the mundane tasks associated with tagging or with viewing content for quality control, and focus more on really innovative areas of the business that can generate revenue. So we're really excited about that as one very practical use case in generative AI. Now, as I come to a close, I wanted to spotlight another area for generative AI, and this is focused on advanced advertising solutions. I've had the great pleasure of being in France for 2 weeks now, first at Vivatech. Last week I was at Cannes Lion, and today I'm before you. At Cannes Lion, there was so much advancement in the areas of advanced advertising solutions propelled by generative AI. And some of the top use cases here, and I'm gonna, on the top right here, you can see, I will talk through, and I'm gonna conclude this slide by playing a video to help make all of this very real for you. So some of the top use cases for generative AI in advanced advertising include multi-channel monetization. This includes many of our customers who own their intellectual property, wanting to create multiple different mediums for the advertisement to be shown on. This could include their linear broadcast, their streaming services, their social feeds, their ability to experiment with game development, and have that advertisement shown in those areas. We can now fuel that multi-channel monetization approach, leveraging Amazon Bedrock, as well as our AWS Clean Room and AWS Entity Resolution services, as well as our Amazon Connect customer profiles. So we have a series of different services from AWS that can now help make multi-channel monetization a reality for our customers. The second area that I want to focus on is hyper-personalization. At Cannes, so much of the discussion was around how the end consumer's advertisement could be very unique to their own attributes, the things they care about as an individual, not as a demographic, but as a value-based approach to what each individual human being wants to see and how they want to engage. Much of that has to do with first-party data and the ability to be able to work through that data in concert. So we have services that can help with sharing data between the first-party data that a publisher owns, as an example, with the first-party data that a brand or an advertiser possesses, and being able to resolve that entity to understand that it's the same individual on both ends. We've also focused on the ability to be able to have privacy-enhanced data collaboration. Last month, we launched the European Sovereign Cloud. And this is important as we understand that France and other European countries, inclusive of Germany, have very stringent data sovereignty laws, and we want to ensure that the services that we provide meet the stringent standards of the sovereignty requirements you have within the countries. And then finally, one of the areas on advanced advertising that really resonated was retail media networks. So much time is spent in advertising trying to measure the effectiveness of an advertisement. We are now in a position to be able to drive these outcomes from when the advertisement is seen to understanding when the actual purchase occurred and closing the loop on attribution. So retail media networks are now a reality, and much of that is fueled not only by the AWS services, but with our tight collaboration with our sister company, Amazon Ads. Now, finally, I had told you before that we had different foundational models, like a speech-to-speech model and a video creation model. One thing that we demonstrated at Cannes Lion is that we built out a beautiful perfumery. We called it the Fragrance Lab. And I want you to imagine that you're in the south of France and you walked into the fragrance area for Amazon Port and you spoke to a perfume specialist and you described the unique things that you love. You love perhaps jazz music. Perhaps you love to run and you prefer adventure. You talk about the colors that you like and the scents and the tastes that you enjoy. And that specialist is not a human being. It's a generative AI foundational model called Amazon Nova Sonic. And it's able to talk back and forth with you and take your attributes and pass those attributes on to another foundational model through an agentic flow. And that foundational model is able to create a custom campaign for you, leveraging imagery that evokes emotion that's customized directly to your preferences. And then we take that through another agentic workflow and we create a small reel, a small movie. And you can post that reel on social media, and it's customized to you. And at the end of that experience, you walk over to an actual human being who takes all of the different scents that they think you're going to enjoy, and they create a custom perfume for you. So what I'm going to show you now is a demonstration. The entire demonstration is done through AWS and Amazon generative AI, and it helps to make what I just described a visual reality.
Welcome to the AWS Fragrance Lab at Cannes Lions. Let's design a personalized fragrance together. Activate Amazon Nova Sonic by saying, "Design my fragrance." I see you're a daredevil with emotional depth, and you listen to a lot of jazz. I'm now creating your scent. Your fragrance has a top note of wild rose, a middle note of jasmine blossom, and a base of rose and peony. It's a soft, floral fragrance that lingers with elegance, delicate but full of depth. Now, let's get started creating your campaign. Once you've created your campaign, you can customize any part of it. Just let me know. A fragrance with depth, a campaign with presence, capturing your scent beautifully. Come explore the AWS Fragrance Lab, only at Amazon Port.
So this was real, I assure you. It was very exciting to see this in action. So I wanted to conclude there with those two deep dives on video semantic understanding and advanced advertising solutions as areas where generative AI is creating real impact across the entertainment industry. Today, you're going to go much deeper with customers from Banerjee, from Warner Brothers Discovery, from 1 Minute, from Moments Lab, and others to really understand all of the ways in which customers are leveraging our services at scale. And don't worry, those will be presented in French. I think this is the only English you will receive today. I wanted to just greatly thank you for the time here today. It's my privilege to be here and share our global view on what's happening across the industry, and I hope you learned something new. Thank you for being an AWS customer and partner. Merci beaucoup.